Welcome to the podcast, everybody.
Welcome, welcome.
I still can't decide if I like the HC2 name. I liked it when I said it, and I don't like it now. But
Oh
H
yeah.
H2C. I don't know the
H2C?
reference.
HC2. My last name's Hockley and two chambers.
Ah,
I mean, H2C would work too. But anyway, that's fine. That can all get changed later.
mhm.
What's the topic today, Chaos? Besides Seth is extremely tired and beat up.
Oh shoot. Well, we touched on it briefly last
Fanboy, they
week.
thought.
Yes,
Yeah.
fanboys. Yep. Particularly, I mean, we can go on about. I think we'll definitely end up touching on the 128-bit generation. Which let me pull that up. Let me pull up the generations because I want to video game. I can spell it right. Video game console generation. So I want because they're all numbered.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to get that. So, all right. So according to Wikipedia, source, Wikipedia is
the,
fine for this kind of stuff.
the
Take
most
it
the
for a grain
most
of salt.
trusted name in the internet, Wikipedia.
Yes, yes. According to Wikipedia. All right. So the we're going to be talking about from. Okay. Wow. That's kind of weird. So the fifth generation is saying the way this is why I don't like the way they're laying this out already. What the hell? First generation, they're saying 72
You're
to
already
80.
wrong, Wikipedia. You're wrong.
70. I mean, second generation. Okay, but 83 to 2003, third generation. That doesn't make any sense.
No, that
Wait,
doesn't sound right
what?
at all.
Yeah, fourth generation,
No.
1987 to 2004. That doesn't make any sense. Why is it laying it out this way?
No, that's you're wrong, Wikipedia. Go figure.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, you know what? Here's a chart that explains a little better. Okay, okay, so Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox. That's the sixth generation. That sounds right.
Okay.
2000 to 2005. So basically,
All right.
sixth
That
generation, seventh generation is 360, 360 and PlayStation 3 and Wii.
that makes sense.
Um,
Was it just the three? I guess it was, huh?
Technically, yeah. I mean, I brought up the Wii U before, but that was I'm not saying it was because I was correct. I just kind of lump it with the Wii U, but technically it's the
Because
Wii.
there
Just
was
the
there
Wii.
wasn't there wasn't a lot of upgrade to it. The little graphic here and there, but not necessarily a whole lot of anything else beyond that.
It was from 480p to 1080p and some more horsepower and blah blah blah, but and all that. But
Okay.
it was still just a.
But I mean, you can say that with like the Xbox and PlayStation refresh that they did in the
It
last
kind
one.
of, yeah. It was basically that. It was
Mm.
basically the Xbox One to the Xbox One X. It was basically the same thing. It was the mid-gen
Okay.
refresh before mid-gen refresh was a thing.
Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, very accurate to lump it in with the Wii U.
That's what that's it's not technically, but I think it's fair to lump it in with it. You can because it didn't do that well anyway. But so we're talking about fanboys. We'll touch on the sixth generation a little bit because that's going to apply there too, of course. And it goes all the way back to since we were little with Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. That's where it really started with console wars.
Mm-hmm.
That's the origins is Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. But for the sake of also for a lot of people that may watch or a lot of people, the 360 PS3 that's a little bit more recent memory, a little bit more recent, a lot going on there. So what stands on y'all's mind when it comes to that generation? Things that the fanboys would say. The Red Ring of Death is a huge one, of course, when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to Xbox.
I would
Oh,
go a generation even further back because PS2, Xbox, GameCube.
Yeah,
A lot
that's
of
why.
fights in
Yeah.
high school over that. A lot of fights.
See, you can attest
oh,
to that
you
since
have
I didn't
you
go to
have
school.
you have one of those consoles.
Exactly.
But see, mine was almost always because I still had like an N64 when the GameCube came out or
Same
whatever.
here.
Like, you've got an N64. Oh, that's it. Oh, like, yeah, shut up. Your mother
I
doesn't love
was
you.
same way.
I need to get this off the screen. So yeah, okay, we'll go with that. So sixth generation, if I'm correct, right? Sixth generation, yeah. So there, a good example. All right, let's define fanboy a little bit. At least let's try to define it.
Probably a good call to get a definition here.
So a good example of a fanboy would be somebody because we were talking about this recently. How, let's say the PlayStation 2, right? And all these consoles, technically, they're all 128-bit. At the end of the day, they're all in the same generation of ballpark hardware.
Right.
But so, like I said, Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox. A fanboy would sit there and be like, and let's say something that's multi-platform. Let's say what's an example? Something that's multi-platform. PlayStation 2. You know what? I'll go with one I've experienced firsthand. I have both. I have them both. Mace Griffin Bounty Hunter. I don't know if anybody's ever played that. Mike.
Nope.
Maybe have you? Never did. Okay.
Nope. Wasn't
Mace
COD
Ridden Bounty Hunter. Nope.
COD 2 was multi-platform, wasn't it? Or was it COD 3 that came to console?
So COD 2 technically did have a PlayStation 2 version, but it was a completely unique game. They made it from the ground up. Yeah.
Big Red One. I love
Big
that
Red
game.
One. Yeah.
Mm.
And that was actually cool how they used to take games instead of porting it in a downgraded version, they would make a whole different game with a different subtitle to it. So, but what I'm talking about is a direct. You have the Xbox port and the PlayStation 2 version of the same exact game, or better yet, Resident Evil 4. And that's another example because you have GameCube. It came out on GameCube originally in 2004, I think.
Okay.
And then they a year later, about a year or so later, they remade it and re-released it on PlayStation 2. And they had to completely redo the game in order to get it to run on PlayStation 2.
Oh wow.
Because so that's an example of a GameCube game that got ported to PlayStation 2, and Mace Griffin was a game that came out at the same time as Xbox and PlayStation, but they were quite a bit different from each other graphically, right? So a fanboy would look at either one of those games and say, "Oh, the PlayStation 2 version is better." It'd be like, "Okay."
It runs better on
why.
PlayStation 2. Oh, it just runs better.
It's better on PlayStation. Xbox is trash. GameCube's trash. Okay, how do you explain how the Xbox version has bump mapping and better frame rate and all these different things that are better about it because due to the hardware differences, especially that 10 gigabyte internal hard drive.
And the fanboy answer is you're looking too hard.
or F you. Yeah, it's whatever. Xbox is trash. PlayStation 2's best, and that's just the automatic answer for everything. PlayStation 2's best. Everything else is trash. You're stupid. That's kind of an extreme. That's a bit of an extreme example of what fanboys do.
We can bring this all the way to present day with PC Master Race too, but that's
yeah.
Us poor people down here on consoles still can't afford a $5,000 PC,
right.
or would rather spend that money on something else. Like I want a clapped out old Jeep, but that's a different topic. We're more to getting off topic. It happens. My brain is going like this right now.
Oh yeah,
because I had a long day at work, but sorry. I'll
I
try
agree.
to stay focused.
So what was like? All right, here's the question then. What are examples that you all, one way or another, whether it be by watching on YouTube, playing it at a friend's house, whatever the case, where you're like, man, this said version of this game was very different from what I experienced on PlayStation 2 or vice versa.
I don't know.
Those games.
I don't know that I actually have any experience personally with that.
I do.
I have stories with that as far as the COD titles and everything from 360 up.
We'll get into that. We'll definitely get into that because I do too. Yep.
But that's nothing
I
that
have a
older.
PS2 Xbox comparison.
Ooh,
Okay.
do tell.
So, years and years ago, I went over to a cousin's house, and he was playing on his Xbox the original Sniper Elite game.
Mm.
And I watched him for hours play this game. I loved it. Fast forward a year and a half later, I'm walking through a random GameStop. Actually, I think a friend of mine, David, was there. and I see on a shelf, because I didn't have an Xbox, I had a PlayStation 2. And I see on the shelf Sniper Elite, the original Sniper Elite, with on PlayStation 2. And I immediately bought it and took it home and beat the whole stuffing out of the game. And
What's up, Luke?
Luke's here?
Yeah,
Yep,
we'll
he
have
just
to
hopped in.
mute him. I'm gonna text him real quick to join the Xbox Live party.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna help. But anyways, as I was saying, so I played the crap out of it, loved the heck out of it, and like almost pretty much forgot about the Xbox version until a couple more years later. My cousin decides he's gonna move to Arizona, and he's like, "Oh well, you want me here? You can have all my old games if you don't mind." So I went over to his house and picked up all his old games, and of course, I found his original copy of Sniper Elite. And at that time, I did have access to an Xbox. So, okay, it's the original game that got me hooked in the first place. And I remember plugging it in and played it for about an hour, and I go, this doesn't feel anything like what I played on my PlayStation. It didn't. Nothing felt right. I mean, like nothing felt right. And
Did you go back? Did you go back to the PlayStation 2 copy and see what was wrong?
That's the crappy part, because at that time my PS2 had crapped out.
Oh
I was borrowing an Xbox from a friend. So I'm like, I can't even go back to confirm that. Like, this is just like some sort of rose-tinted glasses or anything. It's just, I don't know.
See, I can piggyback on that. So in recent memory, because I made it a point after him talking about this story and talk about the game, I ended up getting a hold of both versions. And I was like, I wanted to see for myself. I was curious. What are these like? For me, the Xbox version was a little better. Now, it wasn't I wouldn't say it was night and day. Neither one of them were like that optimized, to be honest. It was a pretty ambitious game, so it wasn't like super smooth or anything. It wasn't like
it was a very ambitious game.
Yeah, it is. So it's pretty, and what I mean by that is kind of like Killzone. It's kind of rough, for what it is, but you get over it because you care about the gameplay, you care about everything going on. So for me, there was some color differences, but the Xbox version definitely had a little bit more detail going on, a little sharper, a little bit more colors going on, a little bit better performance, but it wasn't as dramatic as some other cases, like Mace Griffin. Mace Griffin is hilariously bad on the PlayStation 2 compared to the Xbox version, right? But Sniper Elite was actually not as dramatic as that for some reason. It was actually, they were both comparable for the most part. But I think the Xbox version edged it out a little bit, from what I remember anyway. I would have to fire it up again to really, really tell you. But
oh, you're probably most definitely right. But I'm more or less telling a story. This is me kind of being fanboy at the time. I was a fanboy in such degree. I was a PlayStation fanboy because that's what I had.
Right. And and that's understandable. See, I've always tried to, because I was fortunate that I was able to work for. I mean, I had Christmases and birthdays and stuff, but other consoles, extra consoles I had, I would work for them, and I was able to gather the money for them and buy them and have them, and I always made it a point to do as many as I could. And because of that, it gave me more access than your average person, so I was able to. So I didn't care about being a fanboy because I just tried to get them all. So it kind of bypasses all that crap. So what it is, it's just that tribalism that people inherently do. It's just human nature. It's fine. We all do it to some degree. So what people do is they're like, well, this is the one I picked. Is the only one I could afford, and and I do like it. I genuinely like it, and it makes me feel better if I latch onto this and badmouth everything else to some degree. But people that just lack a little bit, kind of honestly lack a little bit of intellect, that they don't think about anything, and they're just like, well, it's the one I have, so it's got to be better, and they just don't really. And if you show them, not to even be mean to them, be like, oh, your shit sucks. It's like no, I'm not trying to be mean just to be mean. It's like, just look at what else is out there, and that's a fair same point for PC. Like I played Half-Life on PC originally, that I played the PS2 port. PS2 port was cool, but it wasn't quite like the PC version was originally. There was a lot of cases in the 90s where PC was just far superior to console. There was things on PC that couldn't do on console, and it was just how it was. And that's fine.
I remember,
We're still in that because if you notice Warzone, There's still things you
yeah.
can do on
Yeah.
PC you can't do on the console.
Look, it's always going to be like that because PC is ever evolving every single day, every week, every 6 months.
I remember
It's
playing Halo, the original one, on Xbox, and then going over to my well, it was actually at the same one of my buddy's house. He had an Xbox and he had his big old PC that he built, and then going up to his room and playing it on his computer, and it looked 1,000 times better because they cranked up the resolution, cranked up everything like that, and it just looked nice.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
the inferior version.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If I
Oh,
remember correctly, the original Halo, the PC port was the knockoff, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
you know what? Like another
believe.
example of
think
that
so.
was Deus Ex, the first Deus Ex on PS2. Great game on PS2, and it's the only console port of the game to this day. It is a fantastic game. It's very low frame rate. It's a very ambitious game. They took an ambitious PC game and ported it to PS2, and it's still great. But when you go to the PC version, it melts your brain. It's a complete. It's just so different. It's so different. But hey, I would rather have something than nothing, though. It's like playing Doom on the Super Nintendo. It's still Doom. It's a lesser version, but it's still Doom.
I didn't even know they put Doom on the Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And it's not bad. It's for what it is. It's not bad.
See, I was the lover of StarCraft 64. I liked it better than the PC version, even.
Yeah, and so honestly, that can happen. You know what? It's like Resident Evil 2 on the 64. Yeah, the full motion video sequences, which is actually crazy that they compressed them and put them on a cartridge. All the full motion video sequences, give or take a couple of dupes, they put them on that game on the 64 version. The thing that people liked better about it was that it had analog control. So instead of tank controls, it was analog. So you could just, wherever you point the joystick, that's where you're going, instead of tank controls. So people like the 64 version more because of that alone, because of that thing alone. So that can happen, and that makes perfect sense. I get that.
Still remember the 64 controllers were the weird.
Yes.
Like, where do I put my hands?
Tri-horn thing.
Yeah. Doesn't go over here? Does it go in the center? And you end up holding it like this, and it's awkward. And
that was my first. That was my introduction to, aside from the arrow keys and space bar and control and stuff on the keyboard for Doom. That was my analog introduction to first-person shooters. Was on the 64 with Turok and GoldenEye, and that was it.
I remember playing GoldenEye at my buddy's house. My cousin, it might have been for the GameCube, had one of the, I think it was one of the Ghost Recon games.
Yeah, there's a lot of Ghost Recons throughout those consoles.
Yeah. Actually, that was one of my favorites as well on the PlayStation 2, was the original Ghost Recon.
And then they did well on PS2, because first off, I think virtually all of them, give or take some of the future ones they did. I mean, well, obviously later on, but there's
Future
a slew of
Warfighter
them.
and Beyond, I could care less, but
Right.
the
But
earlier
we're talking,
ones were
we're talking
a
the
lot of fun.
originals. There was you had no gun on screen, just a reticle. And that was a bit of a turnoff for me at the time, because I'd already played like the likes of Halo and other and hell, even go back to Turok and GoldenEye. It's like, oh, look at the guns or detail, you reload and animations, and I was like, there's no gun on screen. This is just kind of, it's a simulator. It's kind of weird. I couldn't get into it when I was younger. There's no gun on screen for like the first 2 or 3 of them on that generation. There was just a reticle in the middle of your screen, and you would hear the reloading, and you would see the little icon doing stuff, but you couldn't see it.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I thought even up until now, up until you said that it was like a parental control that my aunt turned on, but guess not.
Yeah, but I have them now because they're neat games. They're because they went for a realism factor, and that was the point. Like Rainbow Six.
True, like squad based too as well.
Yeah,
so you played as multiple guys in a squad.
And the PlayStation 2's answer to that was SOCOM. Third person, mind you, but it was kind of their, and that was online too, and that was
I
a whole new thing.
tried to get into those games, never did.
But so Seth, you mentioned Call of Duty. That's another good example. As far as going kind of further to 7th generation with 360 PS3, because I have direct examples of that as well. So what was your experience?
Most of that was just was the big. I'll tell you, when did PlayStation get the exclusive? Was that still PlayStation 3 days, or was that with the launch of PlayStation 4?
That was more of a PlayStation 4 thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought I was cool because I got stuff that my buddies didn't get because I was on Xbox 360. As far as early access and stuff like that, they didn't really do a lot of the skin stuff with the 360s. As far as
Yeah, it was very different.
yeah, but getting early access for the games and such was nice. Um, as far as like going and playing and running them, I never really noticed a difference in like the quality of the games as far as how they played and looked and all that. I did notice, and this could have been because my buddy was kind of trash at the game, but I did notice that the online lobbies for PlayStation seemed a lot easier.
No, I bet that's true. I really do. I
Because that's
don't
when
doubt that.
that's when PSN was free.
Right.
That's
You could
true.
purchase a premium, I believe, and you got a couple features, but it wasn't worth it.
Oh no, for a while there, until PS4, it was all free, except for what you would buy, purchased individually. But yeah, as far as the network access and playing online, it was all free. And see, that's where the fanboys come back in. I've heard this many times. They'd be like, "Oh, PlayStation Online's better," and it's back at 360 PS3.
Yeah.
And I'd be like,
Yeah,
I'd be like,
remember
I'd be
Why?
like, excuse me, it's free. That doesn't make it better. That means it's free. You get what you don't pay for.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but no, it's better. Xbox is trash. I'm like, dude, Xbox. Have you ever played on the 360 online? It's like, at that time, it was super high quality online play, especially Modern
Well-
Warfare 2.
So I would like to state that the PSN network essentially was their first real attempt at being online. PlayStation kind of had it, but it was really crappy.
It's barely worth mentioning unless
OG
you're like Final Fantasy.
Xbox had online
Mm-hmm.
almost from the get-go, so
Yeah,
they
Xbox
they
Live.
already had experience in it.
Well, Microsoft historically, nowadays they're pretty close-ish, but I still think Xbox edges it out. But for a long time, Xbox led the way for online anything, and Sony's was, well, it's free. Okay, that's fine, but it's pretty trash. And I went, dude, like talking on mics and voice chat was horrible on PlayStation
Oh, it was
3.
awful.
It was terrible. And people, no, it's superior. I'm like, okay, fanboy, you don't know anything. You're a child. Go back to your mama. Okay, that's why I can't stand fanboys.
Speaking of fanboy, and I'm kind of guilty of it with Halo. You remember Red vs. Blue?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Just because I'm light red, pink.
Yep.
That was the worst throw ever of all time. Not my fault. Someone put a wall in my way.
It's so stinking good. I can't believe they figured out how to create that. It boggled my mind then. It still boggles my mind now. How they did it with what they had then. I guess it was just all probably IM PCs and capture cards, I bet.
I have no idea how they did
Nah,
it.
no idea.
Well, the funniest part was the fact that to get them to do the talking animation, it was literally just looking up and down with the pistol, making them go like this. That was it. That was a little trick they used for making them do talking motions.
Mhm.
Now, my experience with, because we were talking about, I did, okay, so when you played a game long enough, because I've been playing Modern Warfare 2, oh no, sorry, I've been playing Call of Duty 4 for months, right, on 360. Day one 360, then when I eventually got online, playing it for months and months and months, so if there's going to be a difference, I'm going to catch it. So I forget why, I ended up, something happened where for some reason, oh no, that's what it was, I had Red Ring of Death, so I had no 360. So I go to PS3 with a borrowed copy or rented copy, whichever I did, at the time of Modern Warfare 2, or of Call of Duty 4 on PS3. I'm like, all right, I'll just hop online with this version, just for now until I get my 360 back. and I noted the frame rate was worse. It had sound glitches I'd never noticed before. The online play wasn't as good. I mean, it was playable. It was okay. But the most jarring though, that was bad enough. That's just being played by myself. But the most noticeable, from anywhere from Call of Duty 4 to Modern Warfare 2 to especially Black Ops 2, Black Ops being a stark one, when you play split screen, couch co-op on Black Ops on PS3 versus 360, oh good god,
Couldn't handle it, could it?
That bad.
oh good god, it's bad. It was so unoptimized, just not optimized compared to 360. The 360 was just simply easier to develop for. The PS3, it was a powerful console, and we'll get into how it was a amazing piece of technology and everything about it. But it was hard to develop for. 360 was Windows based, it was very easy to develop for.
I remember sitting in front of our little 32-inch TV with a Modern Warfare 2, 4 people split screen. not having an issue. I mean, we couldn't play online. We didn't have internet at the time, but the 4 of us could still play on the same console, and it
On
kept up.
PlayStation or Xbox?
Xbox.
Yeah, no, Xbox did really well with Call of Duty. That's why the majority of it was the flip of today. The majority of console COD players were Xbox. PlayStation was the second to that. It was a total reversal of what it is today, or total reverse of what it is today.
Right.
And for good reason. But the fanboys would just tell you, no, Xbox is trash. PlayStation version is better. Based on what? I can give you absolute evidence, both video and audio. I mean, Marvel versus Capcom 3. With fighting games, when you're at a higher, I mean, I was at amateur level. I'm not saying it's high level, but I was pretty good at the game. So I was playing it religiously on 360, and it was a great port on the 360. I played it on PlayStation 3 because, once again, I think it was Ribbing a Death or something. I didn't have my Xbox, and or whatever it was. I can't remember why, but I had to play on PlayStation 3. In one case, it was a tournament that they only had PlayStations at. The frame rate, the game would stutter in frame rate, and it would actually affect your inputs. And I was like, oh my god, this is different. This doesn't run the same. It has frame rate problems that actually you have to be adjusted to input your combos better. But people are gonna lie to you, and the fanboys will tell you, no, it's a superior version. No, it's not.
Or say it's just the same. It's just the same.
Yeah, or no difference. No difference. Identical.
No difference at all. It's identical.
It's like,
yeah.
You couldn't put a gun to my head and make me say that.
Just as good.
Yeah, you know the interesting thing is I think you guys had too many choices, right? So I owned a PlayStation 1, and then my next PlayStation I bought was the PlayStation 5, and I did have
You skipped a couple there.
I had every generation of the Xbox only because the previous one died, or there was like an exclusive release to where you had to have the next console. So I was a Halo boy until Gears of War came out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was a Gearhead.
You guys keep talking. I'm going to step away for a bit.
Okay.
Keep talking.
And then I was a Gearhead. So the Gears of War is what kept me in the Xbox, and even though PlayStation had some really cool stuff that was PlayStation exclusive, nothing sucked me in like Halo or Gears of War.
Right.
And then
Gears 2, Gears 3 had me hooked.
Oh man.
You knuckleheads talked me into the PlayStation 5.
Did we?
Yeah, you did, because we've got this alien game that the world is like being taken over by aliens. We haven't even played that game yet. I came here.
It's not out yet.
Oh well, that's fine. Clear it. So I bought
the older model
PlayStation
is.
5, and I'm patiently waiting for that game to come out. I just got one because I happened to be at GameStop, and I picked up the 5 and the X at the same time.
You know what we should do, Mike? Because he's referring to EDF.
I know what he's
Defense
talking
Force.
about.
But we should
Drag him over there and
drag him over to
for hours
EDF
on
5. Drag him over to EDF 5 in the meantime.
I have no problem with that. I can always play more of that game. Who needs a life?
And then you guys almost got me stuck on the was it Elden Ring?
Yeah, we tried.
Yeah, you guys almost sucked me into that one. There'd be 400 hours of my life.
Only
I'll
want to
never get
suck
back.
you in because they sucked me in. So
Yeah. I'm just eagerly awaiting DLC. I'll play the hell out of DLC, but until then, I'm kind of, I played the living god out of it.
So, are you guys not gear? Are you guys gearheads or no?
Oh, I
Gears
played
of
all.
War? Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
We played a lot of Gears, especially Gears 2.
Gears 2, Gears 3. I love
Yeah,
those two
played
games.
him and I played that online religiously for a while there, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, the thing I love most is the story modes
Those were
are
great.
fun.
I
They're like
enjoyed
you want
the
to play 'em.
stories very much. And Gears 3 multiplayer was one of my favorite Gears multiplayer ever.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. See, that's another thing. See, the PlayStation 3 could not run Unreal Engine the same way Xbox could at the time. So, I mean, obviously, Gears of War. Well, here's the thing I read that the first Gears of War, there exists a prototype out there of the first Gears of War running on PlayStation 3 hardware. It exists, and apparently it was bad. Like it was just no bueno. It would have been, and if they would have released it and done everything they could with it, it would have been just straight up inferior. Now, an example where a game did run decently was Unreal Tournament 3, which originally came out on PlayStation 3 exclusively at the time, and then it eventually came out. Then it came out after on the 360.
No,
And it ran good on PS3. I played it on PS3 quite a bit, but it's a little better on 360. See, PlayStation 3 was great at exclusives, just like PlayStation 2 was great at exclusives.
That's how they sucked you in, man.
But
Guitar Hero.
Yeah, I know that's the beauty of Guitar Heroes. That, as far as I know, they're all they're all basically close enough to being the same, give or take what you have or what you're doing, But no, that's one thing about. I'll tell you what. When it comes to the 6th generation, PS2 and whatnot, the 128-bit, PlayStation 2 is. I'm saying this from experience. I have all of them. I've done modern hookups on every one of these bad boys and experimented with everything. PlayStation 2 is in the absolute bottom barrel out of the 4 when it comes to hooking up to any modern TV or monitor and it looking
I believe
decent. It is by far the bottom of the barrel because they had nothing modern whatsoever. Give or take a few exceptions that don't really matter that much. Like even the Dreamcast, there's a I forget the name of it just now. It's something like DVI or it's basically a monitor connection you could do with it, and it actually looks really sharp. It's very nice, and the HDMI connection kind of utilizes that, and it looks good. And Xbox was straight up a component, 480p to set up to 720p component. And,
on Xbox?
Yes, on OG Xbox,
Oh.
I can take the original Xbox with a original component hardware, put it in anything that has component on it, and I can play Soul Calibur 2 in 720p, native 720p.
Whoa.
And it looks like almost like something that came out recently. The OG Xbox was way ahead of its time. Just like the PlayStation 3 was ahead of its time in a lot of ways. PlayStation 3 introduced Blu-ray. It was the first console to have HDMI out the gate. It had built-in Wi-Fi. The PlayStation 3 was a hardware beast. Okay,
yes.
It really was. But it just had a hard time with the software because Sony's not good at software.
Yeah, they're a hardware company.
Exactly.
And Microsoft's a software company. So
Exactly.
Kind of makes sense.
But then Microsoft, as great as the 360 was in terms of accessibility, and they, but it was abysmal as a console when it first came out. It really was. And with the Red Ring of Death, it was terrible.
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't even get it when it first came out.
It was like a 50% fail rate.
I went through 360s.
Everybody I know had at least one Red Ring of Death, including myself.
Yeah, I had two. And I had a third probably going to happen again. And then, thank God, GameStop had that deal where the new Slim model was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, hey, if you trade in any working 360, you'll get 75% off of the ticket price, off the MSRP of this new Slim model coming out. And I was like, well, hell yeah, I want to get rid of this thing. It's a ticking time bomb. I've already had it sent in twice. So I did that. I paid something like $75 to $90, and I got the new one, and it still works to this day. They rebuilt it.
So with the 360, wasn't there the original 360? Wasn't there a 360 Elite and then the Slim?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I got in with the Elite. Like, I didn't buy Xbox One 360 when it came out. I waited for the Elite model and got that right as it came out.
The Elite was better. It was less prone to failure. They still happen, but it was not as prone as the Falcon motherboard of the original launch 20 gig version. See, I had the Pro. I got the day one. It was funny. I was working at Walmart. My supervisor said, "I'm sorry, but while you're on the clock, you can't buy the console, even though we're here and it's launching today, and I know you want to get one." He's like, "But you know what? I want to hold on to one in the back for you anyway, so you can get it after you clock out." I was like, "Oh,
nice."
Sweet. So my brother went in halvesies with me. So we got a 360 day one launch 2005. I forget the launch day, but 2005. Like November-ish, whatever it was. It was like right after Black Friday, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And had a day one. It was the 20 gig Pro model, and that's all I had. That was literally all I had up until they released that completely redesigned Slim model, and that was after 2 Red Rings of Death and a third on the way.
Yeah. I want you to think about what you just said. You just said the 20 gig model.
Yeah.
And
right.
Which today it takes more gigs to fire the stupid thing up than that one had for overall capacity. So we won't get into that though. But I remember when they came out with the Elite, and they had, I can't remember what the top. The Elite was the all black one, right? And it had that.
Elite was all black with 120 gigs.
Yep.
Yes, in the 120 gigs, it was a little bit bigger on the top, right? And I thought, dude, we are living up.
Unit.
Was it really?
Yeah,
Yes.
Basically, yeah. It was all about the housing that the hard drive was inside of. That didn't really change, but obviously it just however much it
It's
filled
also
it up.
completely
more.
detachable too, which was
Popped off
mind
the top.
blowing.
But what's real
Yeah,
what's real funny with that? My Elite that I purchased secondhand from GameStop, so it didn't come with the hard drive because they sold those separately. So I had to purchase a 20 gig hard drive or whatever later on, or I purchased it that day. I can't remember, but.
And see now with my Slim model, which they made the hard drive internal. I mean, it's literally just open it up, pull it out, put it back in. It's just as easy, but it was better design. But it's still a proprietary little hard drive box you just pop in there. I have like a 500 gig version of that goes in that. It'll never fill for the rest of the day. So it'll never fill. I love the 360, but man, it was rough at first. Holy crap, it was bad with the hardware. You had to buy a Wi-Fi adapter. It didn't have HDMI. It was up to only component. And then, but when they released the Slim model, they corrected all these things. The only thing they never did, it was never able to be a. Let's see. I don't remember. I think it's a DVD player. If I remember right, it's a DVD player.
So I had a DVD player, and you could buy an HD DVD player.
Yeah. So Microsoft bought into the HD DVD battle, the HD DVD team, with those studios, and then Sony backed up Blu-ray, and of course they really backed it up by having Blu-ray built in day one. Whereas Xbox, you have to buy this $100, $120, whatever adapter to play HD DVD. HD DVD lasted 5 seconds. It got destroyed by Blu-ray.
Yes.
Which is actually funny because that goes back to when VHS and beta tapes were competing. Sony was backing up beta tapes, which were high quality. They were a little bit more dense and smaller, high quality, and then VHS were bigger, flimsier, and cheaper. And VHS has won out, and beta tapes went away, and Sony lost on that one. And everybody else, who invested in VHS, that's where that's where history went. Well, history repeated itself, but instead, the higher quality, more expensive Blu-rays.
PlayStation or Sony picked the right team this time.
They picked the right team this time because DVDs HD DVDs couldn't hold as much. They were not as durable. They were cheaper.
But then again,
Blu-rays are more expensive, but could do better.
PlayStation
hold a lot
also
more space.
picked the right team when they went to the PlayStation 2 as well.
Yeah,
So it's also
DVD,
player as well.
Yeah, it was
Xbox,
brilliant
I
what they
think,
did
as well, but.
Xbox was just a little weird. It was okay, but you had to buy a remote. You had to buy the little plug-in and remote adapter in order for it to even work. On PlayStation, it was just all built in.
It was just Yeah, you could do it through the controller, or you could buy a remote.
So it wasn't bad
Either
with Xbox, but it's the fact that you had to buy any peripheral for it to work at all was kind of goofy. Whereas PlayStation was just like out of the box, it works. And it's a good DVD player because Sony was very good at video play. Sony. Here's one thing I'll say about the PlayStation 2. This is funny because I've been kind of hard on PlayStation 2, but one praise I'll give it: the video playback quality was superior on PlayStation 2 over everybody else. Full motion video cutscenes in games, DVD playback.
Yeah, those
which,
always look pretty damn good.
like those. PlayStation 2 was very good at playing video, and less compression on video and cutscenes and just because that was the only without a peripheral. I mean, the Xbox did with the peripheral, whatever, but it was okay. But the PlayStation 2 was better. It was the superior video playback machine out of all four of them. That's the funny part. GameCube was probably the worst. Actually, it was the worst because of the little mini discs. And it wasn't very good. It was super compressed, and they were okay, but they weren't great.
How much space can you how much data can you actually put on one of those little things?
Not a hell of a lot. Let me put
I don't
it this
think
way.
they cared.
I don't think so either.
Resident Evil 4. Well, here's the ironic part. GameCube was absolutely more powerful than PS2.
Yes.
It was straight up more powerful
That
because
was the easiest point of reference was that game.
right, Resident Evil 4 looked amazing on GameCube. To this day, it looks good. Whereas on PlayStation 2, it's good on PlayStation 2. They did a good job, but they literally had to downgrade it to get it to run.
It looked a lot more potato-y.
Yes, it sounded worse. They compressed the sound. The textures are way muddier textures. They had to remake the game and downgrade it in order for it to run.
Which is funny because a DVD holds, 4.7 gigs or something like that of information pending format?
Yeah, to give or take dual layer, dual sided, all that crap.
Right. And the GameCube discs are like half the size and probably even less the surface area when you consider rotation and everything like that.
Right. Now that's another thing. See, GameCube had faster loading because of that too. That was one of the benefits of it. It had GameCube had pretty fast loading times. The Resident Evil 4 was one DVD versus the GameCube was two of those discs for Resident Evil 4.
Okay. I remember one of those discs being slightly out of balance when you put it into the GameCube, and it sounded like the GameCube was going to take off when we put it It worked.
That could happen sometimes.
It worked. It was like that when we bought it new. I can't remember what game it was, but I've had a couple. I think I've had a couple Xbox games, X360 games that were like that I bought used. That for whatever reason. Yeah, and then it's done loading this scene, and then it goes to the next thing or the next save spot, and it fires up again, and the whole desk starts rattling. It's like, maybe we don't play this game. I don't feel like.
See, you're old and nostalgic when, in my case, and probably Luke's too, when the PlayStation 1 when a loading screen, the way the disc sounded loading is nostalgic to you. I can think of how it sounded in my head right now. The way PlayStation 1 was so distinct and how it sounded when it loaded.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So am I the only one that's? Am I the only one that's shocked that we haven't got game sticks yet, where the game just comes on a
USB
like
drive
external
or a thumb drive?
Yeah. Because I mean, in all reality, the flipping disc is just imprinted memory anyway. So why wouldn't you just sell sticks?
You know what?
It's more expensive.
It's
more expensive.
But you're right.
Discs are cheaper.
Well, I think
absolutely cheaper.
I think they bypass that too with all the digital download that you can do now.
Right.
I can't.
That's how they supplement.
Yeah, that's true,
Plus,
that's true.
GameCube. All these portable everything. Since the beginning have all been basically that. GameCube is micro SDs, basically. It's proprietary, but it's still basically micro SD. So we got
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Then I spelled my drink.
Fun ball. Fun ball.
That's okay. It's just
Party foul. Hey, speaking of drinks, I need to go make one.
Oh.
You gonna make one, huh? What are you making?
I'm gonna get some triple sec, some cognac, and pineapple juice.
Hey, you know what? Since we're talking about it, I guess it's getting a little technical. I'll go into it briefly. I'll share my screen.
Hey, how did I get Brandon an alcoholic for one drink?
In fact, you
Um,
couldn't wait 10 minutes.
You have not seen my liquor cabinet, okay? Or what used to be my liquor cabinet.
You haven't seen mine.
Well, there you go. That's a fair point.
okay. So here's some examples. So like, wait, timeline. Let's see.
So you're gonna tell me that that top part is no different size-wise between the Elite and the regular?
I don't think so. I don't.
Then why do
think
you
so.
see them with no tops? Some of them have no tops.
Well, I mean, it's
Because
'cause
there was
it's
a
taken
model
off.
that had didn't have any hard
Yeah,
drive.
after the Elite, see the 360, the 360 white 360 and the black Elites, they were the same model. I mean, they were the same type of Xbox. They were just like they had different motherboards. They had, it came with a bigger hard drive on the, but it was still basically the same console. It wasn't
Gotcha,
redesigned yet.
All right.
The redesign.
That'd come down the pipe.
I wish it would just let me look at the picture. I don't know. Okay, so, and that was when they introduced the Kinect with the Slim.
Oh, the original Connect. Ugh.
Let me go. Okay, I want to zoom this in. Let's see.
I'm just moving my face closer to the
No.
screen.
You know what? Just gonna
Just download the pic and
do this real. Gonna do this right here.
Again, make sure you're not
Okay.
sharing anything. Okay, there you go.
Right.
I feel like I've been lied to all my
So
life.
this is the this is the 360 I had from day one, was the white with the 20 gig on top,
Mhm.
right? And then this right here in the middle was this redesigned Slim model. The hard drive is internal.
yes.
The grating comes open on an end and it pops out.
Yep.
This right here on the far right is the
That's
Xbox
the
One
VCR.
inspired. No, well, sort of. It's the 360. It's Xbox One inspired 360. It was the very last one they did before they stopped making them.
I
To
did
make
not
it-
know that.
They made it look more like the Xbox One, the VCR Xbox One, to make it look more like the Xbox family. And and then they stopped making them after that. I have one of these. I have two of these.
Yeah,
So
so
I have two of these, and I have one of
Yeah.
these.
mine was
I got one of the.
the one in the
Good.
middle without the grade on it. So I took a 20 gig hard drive like the one on the left and popped it on the top of it.
Okay, yeah. So see, you're talking about the Elite. The Elite is just like this, but black.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just
Oh,
like this.
yeah,
but
yeah,
black.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that center
yeah.
one is actually the slim model.
This
and
is
I
the
had
Slim.
one of those as
It-
well.
you
Okay,
can't
I
tell
ha-
very well in this picture. It's actually a pretty good deal. It's like 15% smaller than this one.
I did end up getting the Slim too.
Yeah.
Eventually.
I had the Gears 3 official slim model.
Nice.
So yeah, this right here, this one in the middle, great. This is when it became great hardware. Like this was a very, very fine piece of hardware. This, on the other hand, great software, great games, and all that. Holy God, it was a piece of crap in terms of in terms of the problems. But this is when they really got it all working right. And this is just the same thing. It just looks different with some slight. But they really did rebuild this console with this. It is completely different from its. They basically made a new console with this. Just the same software. Much
I don't know.
far superior.
I don't remember if you remember this, Steve, but when my Elite Red Ring the Death, I was playing with you on Gears 2 when that happened.
Oh, that's right. And real quick, the PlayStation 3 models. Here's an example right here. I'm just going to do the same thing again.
Wah, wah, wah. Oh, there
Okay,
you go.
it's a little blip. So right here, this is my original. This is the original fat Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man font, PlayStation 3. And this thing, like I said, for day one, built-in Wi-Fi, Blu-ray, HDMI, Bluetooth. This had every bell and whistle you could ever imagine. So $600.
Oh, and
actually,
it could play PlayStation 2 games too.
yeah, and originally, not every fat model like this. Unfortunately, the one I had couldn't. But originally, it could natively play many PlayStation 2 games, and then eventually emulated. Then they eventually got rid of it entirely. Then this.
Did
one
you say
came out.
$600?
Originally, yes, but day one, because it was. But here's the thing, though: Blu-ray players were $1,000 to $1,200. So this was a steal.
Very, very true.
Mm-hmm.
So for the fact that this was a glorified Blu-ray player, made it an absolute deal. So $600 was not bad, right? 360 was
Yeah.
$400.
You have any idea how many horse pins I'd have to shovel to get the money to buy
You know how I got mine?
a $600?
You know what paid for mine?
Oh, what's that?
Turning $5 into $470 at a casino. The first time I ever stepped foot in a casino. That's literally the reason I had it. Was because I got lucky.
Shoot. That's the kind of luck I needed. I was out shoveling horse pins for $20 a pop.
But you
Now,
have
the
a
one-
gambling problem.
The one in the middle, that's why I stay out of. I stay away from casinos. I don't ever go to them anymore. So the PlayStation 3 in the middle here. This is the slim redesign, right? This is my favorite. This one in the middle. I have two of these. I technically have a fat one, but it's dead because the power source burned out. So it's paperweight. But the one in the middle, I have two of these. Fantastic. It has everything good about this. The only thing it doesn't have, obviously, is the PlayStation 2 emulation. I threw a terabyte. Actually, I took the 500 gig hard drive out of my PS4 because I replaced that one. And I put it in this because they're all interchangeable.
Huh.
It's the same. They're all PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3 hard drives all work together. They can all work. So I swapped it out, put that in there. Now this right here, on the far left here, this was
one.
This was the Ultra Slim. This one had a sliding top that slid down this way. It would slide over and reveal the where you put the disc inside, so it was exposed. It wasn't a slider or a slot.
A tray or a slot.
Slot. Yeah, but these was now 360 was a tray. These were you insert like
That's
right,
right.
like we
360
have
had a
right now.
tray.
Yep, 360 had a tray. And you know what? Good thing they got rid of that because trays are one of the few ways you can actually scratch discs without with it being not your fault because they're touching the edges every time you put them in.
Yep.
So
That and they malfunction all the time.
yes, that too.
I remember.
That was one of the problems with PS2.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true.
So the Ultra Slim on here, it's very small, it's compact, it works well and all that. But this to me was the best quality build. It was the best in between, the one in the middle. I love PlayStation 2.
How is a slide safer for the disc than a tray?
Rubber wheels pull it in, rather than setting the disc on hard plastic surface.
Right. Now here's the thing though. Yes, if the worst happens and your disc goes in there and you can't get it back out, yes, you have to play Operation to get it out. There's ways to do it. There's ways to do it, but you have to do it.
Yeah, it's called a really, really big hammer. Which I did do that to an Xbox 360, by the way. The second one that red ringed on me, I just beat it with a baseball bat.
I mean, you weren't wrong.
I mean,
Well,
I turned one of my red ringers into a range target, so
now that probably would have been a whole lot more fun. They wouldn't let me return. They would not let me return the second red ring.
Huh.
So yeah,
and
no,
I can't. Yeah.
I love this generation. We didn't get into Wii really because honestly, Wii was just a souped up GameCube with motion controls. That's basically all it was. It was literally just like a half step above GameCube with motion controls.
we didn't really get into fanboys, to be honest. But
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's always gonna be more examples, but
I love current gen.
The call is about to
So much
end.
fun.
I see it counting down. So
Have a good night, guys. We'll see you
Appreciate
next
everybody.
time.
see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.